Hello everyone, welcome to Learning Bytes. Today we will be learning solid principle. Solid principle is very much useful while we are dealing with object oriented programming. Solid principle defines certain kind of a standard or certain kind of a guidelines which helps us to write easy maintainable, easy to extendable and easy to understandable code, right? So if you are dealing with very big project, then it becoming very important to follow solid principle while you are writing newly to that writing new logic to particular applications, or you are modifying the existing source code into a big applications, right? We should always follow solid principle, otherwise it will be very difficult to manage in future, and it is not viable to kind of maintain the application as well. So there is a concept called writing clean code. So if we want to write clean code, maintainable code, and highly scalable code, we should all always follow solid principle. Now, before we starting to discussing each of the principle which are defined by solid, I want to give an glimpse that why it is so important to understand and learn solid principle. If you see any company, right, it can be any product company, it can be a startup, or it can be anything. Let's say a service-based company. Everywhere, if you are going to give any kind of interview, they will fundamentally check your solid principle depth knowledge. Without solid principle knowledge, it will be nightmare for all the people who are pursuing for kind of an who are going to give an interview, or who are whoever planning for give an interview in coming, let's say 1 year or 6 months down the line, right? So that's the background about the solid, and it's there since 1980s at the beginning when the object oriented principle comes in. Okay, now today now you can see, right, in my screen, this is I have written solid. So each this is a solid is an, let's say it's an award. Now this award is comprised of five actually letter or five character. Each character define each of the principle, and we kind of take an acronym for each of the word and put it in a each of the principal word and put it in a single place. Now we took the first one. Now let's understand what is S in the solid principle, right? S stands for single responsibility principle. Okay. Now S stands for single responsibility principle. What is single responsibility principle? We will be discussing in detail, and we will be learning through an code example. So I'll write single responsibility principle. Okay. This single responsibility principle says that when you are creating any class, okay, or you are modifying any class, we should follow uh, one standard. That standard is like the class should be responsible for a single task or a single type of task. It should not be responsible for multiple things. If you make in a single class with multiple responsibility, now for each of the responsibility you have to come to the class and modify it. Now if let's say there are two type of responsibility. One is for your calculating salary, and another one is like to kind of store the salary details into the third party storage, or sending to the let's say PF department, okay, where like you, depending on the salary, it will be TDS will be deducted from it, and tax will be calculated. So those two are different work. Now if we put it in a single class, so tomorrow there is a rule change for the TDS deduction. Now for changing the TDS deduction, you need to change the class. Now if you upgrade or change the class where I also have a salary calculation logic present, depending on my, let's say, basic salary structure which my employer provided. Now what will happen if you change that one, which is an external entity, because the previously, let's say, TDS is 10%, now it's becoming 10.5 by the government of India or somebody else, some governing body. Now what will happen? Now because of that change, you need to test this part. Actually that change will have an impact in the other responsibility. So You are getting it right. So the single responsibility, instead of putting in a single class for that responsibility, if I put that responsibility in two different classes and I have linked to them any kind of any formation that we will be discussing down the line, how they can communicate to each other, two classes. But if I put it two different classes, then one changes will be deferred to the other changes. My testing, my efforts, everything will be easy. So that's what the single responsibility principle comes in. Now we will understand with the code. So let me kind of open my terminal. So I just open a code called okay. Uh, I just open my VS Code. So let just now I have let's say I have created a class called let's say salary salary management dot java. Okay, so I have created a class called salary management dot java, right? Now here, so let's say I have, you know, right? So if I write private int employee ID employee name and employee salary, right? Now this one, right? This is the getter method and setter method. Now I will remove that. It's a getter and setter method now. Now see my class, okay? So I have a salary management class. This class having three attributes, all are private. This is nothing but you are getting, right, the visibility, a visible normal object oriented principle. So what this why I make it private? Because this variable should not be accessed directly from by the class operator, right? So this is I'm making this variables to be visible only in this class. So I make it is private. If somebody wants to access to them, they can call a getter method to get that particular attribute from this class, right? Now let's say this is one plain pure Pojo class. Now I have write a logic over here. Let's say public int calculate let's say salary. Okay, salary salary, and I am providing let's say I have to provide a method signature over there. Let's say I am providing int employee ID. Okay, now the responsibility for that particular method is to calculate the salary and return it back, right? So let's say I have a DOUBLE. Okay, so I have a standard method. I am not writing into the details of it. I am just writing a sample code over here. If let's say employee ID, I have kind of put a rule logic that my HR department start with 100 employee ID and it's end with 200. Then my employee salary, let's say I have created with that one. Then my employee salary I am returning it's let's say 25,000. Okay. Now if the employee is 2 to 300, this is an let's say my IT department or software department where I'm paying 50,000, let's say, and the 300 to 400 is the management one where I'm just paying the nominal one because they have a stock bonus and all, that is let's say 60,000. Okay, and otherwise I'm don't know all the staffs belong to this other category, so that for them it's a 12,000. So this is how I'm calculating. So it can be a complex business logic whenever we will be writing the actual code. So I'm just creating a virtual scenario where this kind of an thing can happen. Okay, so if a employee ID belongs between 100 to 200, it means it's an HR department where I'm paying flat 25%. Okay, and if it is belong to 200 to 300, it's an IT department where I'm giving it to 50,000. And if it is 300 to 400, let's say it's a management department where I'm paying 60,000. Otherwise everything else is others. Okay, so this is my salary calculation. Now let's say I have to calculate the TDS and kind of give that TDS amount to the third party, right? So I have a standard thing is like whatever the salary is there, if you give the salary, then I will calculate the TDS and I'll send it to to the government department. So I'm writing the same logic over here, right? I'm writing public boolean, okay, transfer TDS and int, sorry, it will be double COUBLE double salary. Okay, so now what I'm doing, so I'm just putting a calculation, double TDS is equal to salary. So 10% is the let's say whatever the salary is there, that is TDS amount is the 10% of my salary. Now after that, what I am doing, I'm just writing a simple class here to the I am writing a logic to transfer the TDS to the government account. It can be an HTTP call or it can be anything, right? So here I will having a HTTP call call to government API to transfer the TDS for each of the employee. Okay, now they are along with the salary. I should take the PAN card number, right? I should take string as a PAN number. Okay. Now I have to pass the employee with the details of TDS and the PAN number. Okay. Now you just think this salary management class has two major functionality. One functionality is to calculate the salary for each employee ID, and another functionality to transfer the calculate the TDS and transfer the TDS to government based on the PAN number and calculated TDS based on the salary. So these are the two functionality I am doing. Now if you see the what single responsibility principle says, the single responsibility principle says one class should be responsible for one work, not for the multiple work. Now what happens? So let's say this, as I explained previously, let's say government starts charging, instead of 10%, they are charging 11%. Now because of this change, then I didn't touch this, right? But I have to retest this entire class. I have to redo all the things to make sure my application works. Now if you guys can say, if you are very confident what I will do it, why you will do it, because you change here. But that's how the big software company work. There are let software product work. There are a lot of regression we need to run. We don't know what will happen. There will be so much complexity in it. It's a very simple use case. I am giving it in a 5 minutes example. It looks like very easy, but in real world it will becoming more and more complex. So instead of putting a TDS transfer over here, I can create a separate class, right? So let's say the class name is TDS management class, GMENT dot class. Okay, TDS management dot Java. Now in this TDS management, I can easily do other things, right? So here I can have private. I can have this one, the salary, real double salary, string PAN number. Then I have TDS amount. Then I can copy this is the instantiation. Then I can just shift this entire thing out of here. Sorry, 1 second. I can just simply cut this. 1 second, what is happening? I can put a control A. I can put it in the TDS management section. So now the structure you see. This class is responsible to calculate the TDS and transfer it. Okay, and my salary management class is responsible just to calculate the salary, and TDS management class is responsible to transfer the TDS. Okay, it can also be responsible to calculate the TDS, but if we want to make the TDS calculation and TDS transfer in a two different class, that is also needed. Now even here I am just keeping it for understanding purpose. I am just going into little bit high level. So transfer TDS is a work that is responsible by the TDS management, and salary management class is a class which is responsible to calculate the salary. And then I have a sample management class, the management class who will handle this entire scenario, right? I can kind of use these two classes over here. So let's say I am using private salary management class, is a salary management class, and also I have a TDS management class, and then I can do one thing. This is there. Then I can do one thing. I can kind of get the salary. Let's say I have a double salary, which is salary management, the get employee salary, and I can have a TDS calculation on this one. So you can see, right? So tomorrow, if I you can see, right here I'm calculating the salary and using the salary I'm kind of doing that, transferring the TDS, and I'm also returning not double, it should be binary one, okay, whatever it is, right? So just check the functionality instead of getting into the deep detail into the each of the syntax, but try to understand the functionality. So what I'm doing, I'm here calling a function, okay, which giving me the salary, and I'm also calling another function, another like I'm I'm calling this get salary method from the salary management class, and TDS transfer from the TDS management class. Now so tomorrow let's say I have to change something in the TDS management class, right? So now government start charging, let's say 11% of it, right? So now it's an 11% TDS. Now what will happen, I have to just test this class, right? And there is nothing to do with the salary management class, right? So that's how this entire framework will work in a single responsibility principle of solid, okay. That's it for today. So in the next session we will be understanding the another principle for solid, which is O, that is nothing but open close principle. Open close principle. Thank you.